Welcome to the Next Step Recovery podcast. We call this more than recovery because addiction is so much more than just getting clean from our addictions, our strongholds. It's really finding our purpose in life, and that's what we're here for each and every day. I like to say that we have three purposes here at the Next Step Recovery podcast. The first purpose is to encourage people, to encourage those who are struggling in their addiction or just in life. It doesn't have to be an addiction. It could be anything. So we want to encourage you. Number two, we want to educate you. We want to help you help other people. We want to help you help others. And then finally, we want to expand our reach. We want to expand our impact. We want to expand our partners. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to a great show. Hey, welcome back, and I'm looking forward to this podcast. Robert's got a question for me, and I think it's a really important question surrounding recovery programs or any program that's helping people. And so, Robert, what's your question for me?
So, Todd, what is Next Step Recovery's success rate? So
what you're asking me is, when people graduate from Next Step, a man goes through our program, he completes the program, right? Does he remain successful? And when I get that question, I always respond with a question. What is success? Because that is hard to define. Now, I think what most people mean when they ask me that question, they say, just like you did, Todd, I'd really like to donate to Next Step. I'd really like to partner with your program, but I'm just curious, what is your success rate? What is success is always my response. What do you mean by that? And I understand what people are getting at, because people want to partner with somebody financially or in any way that is making an impact. So what is the impact that Next Step is making? And one of the things I share with people is we save the taxpayers in Macon Bibb nearly $1 million a year. Yeah. Is that success? Because you were taking in men who typically would be incarcerated or under the care of some type of a supervisory officer for the state of Georgia, that now we take them, and the state of Georgia does not give us any money. So everything that we do with the money that we bring in as a nonprofit. So the state of Georgia does not pay us to take men into our program in lieu of jail, in lieu of prison, or in lieu of some type of a government program, right? So we're saving the taxpayer a lot of money by doing what we do. So what is success, right? And success can be defined in a number of ways. So here's one way I can respond to this as well. A man comes to Next Step and he is addicted to methamphetamines. He's addicted to alcohol. He's addicted to a number of different things, right? And he spends a year with us or more. He graduates and he goes back into the world. And when he goes back into the world, as soon as he graduates, he goes back out there and he gets high. He gets drunk. He does things he shouldn't be doing. And for about the next 6 months, he does that. And then he wakes up one day and he goes, this just isn't worth it. Yeah. What they taught me at Next Step was what I need. But a lot of times they feel like they got to go back out there and sow their wild oats, or one more time, and one more time ends up one more time, and one more time, and one more time, and one more time, and one more time for a while. Yeah. Then he wakes up one day and he goes, you know what? I need to start putting into practice everything that I know. And he starts to do that. And he gets clean again, gets a job, has a family, becomes a productive member of society, is faithful to church. He's serving in church. Is he a success? Well, by the standard of the person who asked the question, what's your success rate? He would be a failure. Yeah. Because he went out and he failed right away. He got high again. So I can't now count him as a success. And in your own life, if you're asking me that question, have you always been a success? Have you always failed? I mean, have you always done everything perfect? Have you always, you've had ups and downs and ins and outs and stumbles and falls, and you messed up and you got up So a lot of times when we're asking that question, we're expecting the people to come out of a program like Next Step and be perfect.
Yeah.
And not mess up. And not go back to what they've been doing their whole life. So a guy comes to me and he's 35 years old and he spends a year in our program or a year and a half, or he graduates and he stays in our transition program for a while. And he's 35 years old when he comes to us. And the statistics show that most of these men have been using drugs or alcohol or some type of a substance on average, since they were 13 years old.
Yeah.
So by the time they come to me and they're 35 years old, that's 22 years on average that they have been doing what they have been doing through some of the most formative years of their life.
Yep.
So it's what they know. It's what they learned. It's part of their DNA. It's part of their soul. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to shake that. And a year is never long enough. I tell our guys all the time, a year is not long enough to change your life. A year is just a start. So when they leave our program, they might stumble, they might fall, they might mess up, because a year is not long enough. They need really years and years and years of intense discipleship, therapy, recovery, whatever term you want to use here, right? So the real question is not what is your success rate? The real question is, what opportunities are you giving these men to succeed?
Yeah.
That's the real question. And then we can have a conversation. Todd, what opportunities is Next Step providing these men to succeed? Because success is not up to me. Their success, Robert, is not up to me.
Absolutely.
God won't even force them to succeed. God won't force me to succeed. God won't force me to obey, but yet I'm expected as a program to somehow monitor them to make sure they succeed after they leave the program.
Yeah.
They're expecting me to do something that God won't even do. So I had a question asked to me one day around this question. I had another question posed to me from somebody who was getting me to think at a little bit deeper level on this. And he said, Todd, what would you say is the bare minimum success of a man who graduates your program? Right? Mm-hmm. He said, maybe he graduates and he does go back to doing some things he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And he's not in church where he should be. He's not hanging around the people he should be. He's not doing the things. He's not doing the things he should be doing. So what's the bare minimum that you would consider to be, okay, he got something? And I had to really think about it. It was a great question. And I would say the bare minimum is, well, they're holding a job and they're not in jail.
Yeah.
They're holding a job and they're not in jail. They're with their family, right? The bare minimum is, and that was a very thought-provoking question for me, because I'm sitting back there going, there's a lot of guys who've come through our program. And there's a lot of guys who are being hugely successful. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of guys who are not. So then I asked myself this, what was Jesus' success rate? What would you say, if we had to, because Jesus, you got this program, right? It's called the gospel. And in this program you have, what's your success rate? How many people that you've preached to and discipled and have read your word, how many people, A, came to know you as their Lord and Savior, and B, truly walked with you for the rest of their life? What would his success rate be? And I always go back to the 10 lepers that he healed. How many came back and truly were grateful for what he did and did what he said? 1.
Yep.
So I always say Jesus' success rate's 10%. And if you think that I'm going to have a success rate any higher than Jesus, you're crazy. And if there's programs out there, and I don't know every program out there, but here's what when programs are out there and they're advertising their success rates, we have a 75% success rate. They're lying because they don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. their success is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to give them everything they need to succeed that I can give them. My responsibility is to introduce them to Jesus.
Yeah.
And if I'm introducing every single one of my men to Jesus, I have a 100% success rate. Mm-hmm. I can't determine whether or not they're going to receive him. I can't determine whether or not they're going to follow him. I can't monitor them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
I can't do that with my own children.
Mm-hmm.
So their success is up to them. It's not up to me. It's not up to the program. We forget that this is not about Next Step. This is about Jesus.
Absolutely.
And you heard it Tuesday night. We have our Tuesday Night Thrive program, and we have a time of testimony. And many times people will get up there and they'll say, well, man, thanks to Todd, I'm not using anymore and I'm not doing this anymore. Well, thanks to Chris, I've got my license back. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's thanks to Next Step, right? And I'm always going, no. It's not thanks to Todd. It's not thanks to Chris. It's not thanks to Robert. It's not thanks to Next Step. You're giving credit to the wrong person.
Yep.
So when you're asking me what our success rate is, you're trying to give credit to me. And credit doesn't belong to me. You need to be asking Jesus, what's your success rate? Because success is not up to me. It's up to that man. It's up to that woman. It's up to that person. I went to college. You went to college. Nobody's calling that college going, is Todd still being successful? May 15th, 2 days ago, was I graduated on May 15th, 1988. I came in here the other night and I looked at my wife. I said, I graduated 36 years ago from college. I'm like, oh my word. I said, and she looked at me, she goes, you're old. She goes, you're really, really old. But they're not calling me, once a year going, how you doing?
Yeah.
You still being successful? You still staying straight? You still using your degree? Nope.
No.
You're not using your degree, then you're not successful.
Well,
so I had a probation officer tell me one time, he said, Todd, if you're taking credit for these men's success, then you got to take credit for their failures. Because their success is not up to you.
That's right.
Their success is up to them. What they do with what we teach them, what we do with what we give them. So what's the success rate for Next Step? You'd have to ask these men. You'd have to ask them what their success rate is. You'd have to ask them. So my success rate for Next Step is based on what opportunities do I give them? Am I introducing them to Jesus 100% of the time? Yes. Are we teaching them life skills 100% of the time? Yes. Mm-hmm. Are we teaching them principles and truths to help them stay clean and not use drugs anymore? Yes. Are we giving them every opportunity to gain employment, to get back up on their feet, to be productive, to learn new skills? Yes. 100% of the time. That's all I'm responsible for. And we're doing that 100% of the time. That's what I base our success on. So I would say we have a 100% success rate.
Yes.
But I'm not responsible for these. If you go out there and you look at the general population across the board of people who've been in a program, some type of a recovery program, across the board, probably 5 to 10% of them are going to do well. Most of these men and women have been in multiple recovery programs.
Yeah.
And they've been to jail and prison multiple times. It's a process. And sometimes they never get to the end of that process. Sometimes they never get there. Sometimes the best they're ever going to get is they're just holding a job and they're just keeping their head above water. That's the reality. We came back last podcast talking about fairness, talking about reality. That's the reality of this.
It's not fair.
I'm going to pour my life into a man at the end of the day who may never make it. I may pour my life into a man who, when it's all over, may stab me in the back when all is said and done and make accusations against me.
Yeah.
Is that fair? No.
It's not fair.
It's not. But that's okay. It's what we do. It's what we're called to do. And God never promised it would be fair. That was the last podcast.
Yeah.
So these, when people ask you, when we ask success rates, we need to make sure we're defining what success is. Are you talking about the success of the man, or are you talking about what we're offering the man or the woman or whoever it is? And are we doing that consistently? Are we serving as many men and their families as we can with the budget that we have and the space that we have? Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we can do. Success rates that are published on websites, our program is 80%. That's a marketing ploy. And they're not real numbers. They're just guessing. And I've had people ask me over and over and over, what's your success rate? And I give them the same answer. I'm not responsible for their success, but I can tell you what we do to ensure they get everything they need for success. And here's what we do. But I can also tell you that probably the vast majority of these men are going to go back out and fall again.
Yep.
And eventually they will be successful. Eventually they will get back up. But when that is, I don't know.
Yep.
When that is, I just can't control that any more than God would control it, and he won't control it. Mm-hmm. So great question, Robert. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You get, that's a soapbox that I tend to get on. I had a conversation about a year ago with the U.S. attorney here. He's appointed by the President of the United States, and he's the U.S. attorney here in Macon. And we got on that same discussion, and he was talking about success rates, and I gave him that answer, and he looked at me and he said, "Todd, I could not agree with you more. That's the best answer I think I've ever heard." He goes, "And you're exactly right. And people are trying to hold other programs accountable for things they're not responsible for."
Yeah.
So if you want to partner with Next Step in a financial way, understand that our success rate is not any better or worse than Jesus's. And if that's a standard that you think we should be held higher to, we appreciate that. We do. We're just not for you, because we're probably not going to beat out Jesus on any standard at all. So if you got any more questions for me around this topic, and it's a funny topic. It's one of those topics that, we're all looking for something concrete that we can grab onto so we can partner with somebody. We want to make sure we're giving to the right organization that's doing the best job. And we believe we are that organization. There's great organizations out there that are probably better than us, but we believe right now what we're doing makes a difference. And if you want to partner with us, you can go to our website at www.nextstepmen.org. Shoot us an email, shoot us a question, or just go on there and make a donation. We would love to have your partnership, and not just financially, but if you give to us, we don't want you just giving. We would love for you to connect with us as well, and we can build that relationship with you. Have a great day.